First, I'd like to say that the NAACP Portland branch sends its regards to say that they would really love to be here, but it was a pretty busy week. So our president, Rachel Chapel Ross, wasn't able to make it, so she asked me to come up and fill in for her, which is a pretty difficult job, but I'm going to try. What happened this morning, it was a long planning process in order to get to the event that happened this morning for the breakfast. We had several events, mainly trying to train our youth on how to facilitate pretty tough conversations, especially around racism, economic justice, the things that Martin Luther King had basically tried to instill in our society. One of the things that really captured our youth was the fact that they was able to participate in a process that said that they're going to lead and invite the adults to follow them into the future. And at the Casey Family Services, because this is where the event was held, we had more African students, young people that was there. I think I did a count, and we might have had, out of 50, 60 kids, maybe 6 Caucasian children that was there. And I felt pretty bad about that, because I said, you know, Martin Luther King's message wasn't to black people only. It wasn't to Caucasians only. I think what Martin Luther King had basically seen is that he had got onto a path, and it took him from a civil rights and concern about the people in his community to a human rights effort, and that's what he was beginning to move towards when he was introducing the Poor People's Campaign. He didn't say poor blacks or poor whites, he just said Poor People's Campaign, to include everybody. And he was making the point that everybody's labor has value. That was one of the messages that he was trying to deliver when he had mentioned to the trash collector, is that if you're going to be a trash collector, be the best. And at the same time, if you're going to be a good trash collector, you should get paid fairly decent. And I think that was the issue at that particular time. So our young people coming in from Africa, Asia, the United States, they're looking at the world a little bit differently now. They're looking at the world that here in Portland, international city, Somalia is now connected. The Congo is connected. Haiti is connected. And if we were able to use and gather our strength together and deal with the circumstance of people were being hung at that particular time, people were being shot, beaten by police, and if we was able to take that situation, come up with a game plan, and use it, and it was successful, then we actually have a plan for our future now. Just go back to that playbook, broaden it to a universal perspective, and then employ the same things. It took good people from religion, good people from our streets, because at that particular time, I think you had the gays, lesbians, people that was involved with drugs, that was trying to change the society for the better, versus saying that we are people that are victims of society. These are things that exist in our society, and we shouldn't be penalized for it. And those are some of the things that we was talking about. So this morning, they was talking about education. They was talking about economics. They were talking about making things connective. So Martin Luther King has said, and this is back in the day, this is before he had passed, he said that we already had these conversations. We have already had this discussion. The thing that we need now is commitment to whatever plan that we have that will launch us forward and have some sustainability so we could see it to its end, just like we did the Civil Rights Movement. Have the circumstances change? These were the questions. No, our incarceration rate is still high. African Americans still are some of the highest people that's placed in jails throughout the nation, including Maine. Education, we're still the lowest on the totem pole as far as graduation, next to the Native Americans. This was the statistics that we've seen. Voting rights, there's efforts to switch that, redistrict. So have the situation changed? No, not really. I think the players have changed, but the circumstance of human rights in this country have not changed, and we need to come up with a playbook in which we could pull from what we're going to do now, and then implement it until we see it to a success. And this is what the discussion was this morning. It's how, not how, because that question always comes up, how do we do it, as if though we don't know how. No, go back to the demonstrations that we had back in the Civil Rights Movement, employ that with the same amount of energy, with the same amount of determination, and then we would be guaranteed success. This is what the breakfast was about this morning. So coming down here, or coming up to Brunswick, one of the things that came to mind was when I was in school, I could remember that particular day that Martin Luther King was assassinated because my teacher came in and she was crying. So that's my measuring point from that particular day. From the day that I remember blood was shed for our civil rights or human rights, I mark that date and see how things have changed. Not that much. Not that much. So being invited here says, how do we begin to make these connections? How do we say that we're going to be committed regardless of our political affiliations, regardless of our religion, because we still haven't gotten over that? How do we begin to look at our circumstances here in Maine and use it as Maine could serve as the example? Because it has this diverse community that have plenty of talent that's there, things that's usable in this particular economy right now. How do we take that and make it benefit our particular community as a whole? And in doing so, they said that what we have to do is begin to see ourselves as the beloved community in which Martin Luther King was speaking about, and quit seeing this as a community that had a message for and only to black people. It was a message that was delivered to the world. It has its benefit, and that's what we're here to try to do tonight, is make these things connect. The agriculture, I'm a vet personally, but that's where I found both my salvation, my peace of mind, getting away from the medications that the VA had for an individual, getting into the agriculture, trying to reconnect my life back to something that was sensible from coming out of the first Gulf War. The only thing that was able to make sense out of all this was being able to nurture something. Not to get back in and get into a job position where I could try to establish myself financially. But what made more sense for me is to get my head back into being a full citizen that's participating fairly and justly for the benefit of the whole society. That was my salvation, not the medications that they put me on, not the effort to put me through school, not the effort to say that we're going to compensate you something for your disability, but being able to get back to nature. Get back to nature and say, at this particular time, I'm going to allow nature to work its piece on me, and so that I could be a full citizen in this society. So that's what I wanted to share. The energy that was there this morning, it was great. We had, for the first time at the NAACP, we had 4 women actually leading our discussion. And they was bringing such information that I said, God, man, Mama always made good sense. So that's what we got out of this morning. So we're also looking at our young women, which we have one with me right now that's working in agriculture, is to start taking the lead in these things. Mother Nature, Mama got good sense. We need to pay more attention to our mother. This was one of the messages that I seen that was there this morning. And that's what I came to share with you. So thank you very much.